This is called Swimming to My Own Beat. When I was in the 9th grade, I decided to become a capital A athlete. So I began this long soul search to discover what my sport was. As it turns out, I didn't have the discipline for the long, extensive, and sweaty practices that track required. And due to this ever-leaning thumb, I could not spike a volleyball anywhere but the ceiling. So it turns out swimming was my sport. I'd always had a passion for the water going back to my days as a fat baby in the sink. So I knew I could handle this. There were a few things that surprised me about the swim team. First of all was that everyone knew each other from almost a decade of swimming lessons. As I arrived on the first day of practice, I realized these were the same blonde girls who I had seen swimming past me in the country club as I looked on at the age of 7. I had been banned from the pool after I bit the teacher one time. In all fairness, I was just looking for something to hold on to. Also surprising about the swimming team was that it was extremely costly, both in money and in time. This was an everyday after-school practice for 2 hours, plus a green one-piece Speedo cost $75, a swim cap $25, and a tan nose plug was $15. I mention it was tan because it was my exact same skin tone, meaning that it exactly matched my flesh. So as I emerged from the pool, it looked like I just had a weird bump defect on my nose. But it was fine. I put that all behind me as I started the swim team. The coach was a middle-aged man named Bruce. By day, Bruce was just your average biology teacher, but by night, he was that same biology teacher, but with a whistle. Bruce was a good coach, though, overall. He taught us all sorts of different swims. We did the breaststroke, the backstroke, the front stroke, and the dreaded crawl kick. For those of you who haven't seen a crawl kick before, it's basically a frog kick where your knees can never extend out further than your ankles. I had never crawled as a child, which up to this point in my life, that meant absolutely nothing. And suddenly I realized that there were some muscles in my legs that had never been developed. So I had to practice crawling at home in order to actually do the crawl kick in the pool, which did improve my kick, but deflated my ego in the process. So as the swimming season continued, they decided to place us into Olympic-level standards. The best swimmers were placed in gold, and silver would be JV, the strong-legged kickers. Bronze meant, you're pretty good, keep going, and green meant, thanks for showing up. I was placed in light green, so I'm still not quite sure what that means. The day of the first meet arrived, and I was so incredibly nervous. And I remember looking out into the crowd and seeing my entire family looking right back at me, looking even more nervous. I stood on my concrete block, staring into the chlorine waves. I can do this, I thought. I've got this. On my right, 4 other competitors, all looking equally nervous. The whistle was off. We jumped in the water. We were going to complete our double lap freestyle. I came up for my first breath. I could already see I was a good 20 seconds behind the rest of the group. That's fine, I thought. I'll just keep going. I made it to the wall, pivoted around, made it all the way to the end, and as I got out of the pool, I realized the entire room was clapping for me. Not because I was the best, but in fact I was a minute and a half behind the entire group, meaning that everybody had gotten out, dried off, and probably began writing their own novels, and then I emerged and everyone clapped for me, which was patronizing, but for some reason it didn't strike me that way. Honestly, for me, the success story was completing the laps. Clearly, I was not meant to be an athlete, so for this one thing in my life, I was okay to turn off my type A nature and say, yes, I'm just glad to be done with this thing. So as the season progressed, I did eventually improve my time. And although I never went on to win any medals or accolades in the water, I think I gained something better out of that experience. I will always remember my 14th year of life as the one where I swam every day after school for 5 months straight, lost 15 pounds of back fat, and in the process, I think I gained a little bit of self-respect. Thank you so much.